traitors and condemning, quote, their betrayal of the U.S. constitutional system. Trace Gallagher has the story. Trace?
Megan, this dispute is whether the president has the legal authority to strike a temporary deal with Iran without Senate approval. The letter serves to educate Iranian leaders about the U.S. Constitution, telling them that when it comes to a nuclear agreement, the president cannot go it alone, saying, quoting here, anything not approved by Congress is a mere executive agreement between President Obama and Ayatollah Khamenei. The letter is being roundly criticized by leading Democrats. Vice President Biden calls it beneath the dignity of the Senate. Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid says it undermines the commander-in-chief. And today, before she addressed her email controversy, Hillary Clinton said this. Listen.
The recent letter from Republican senators was out of step with the best traditions of American leadership.
Except similar complaints were voiced by Republicans in 2007 when Nancy Pelosi, against the wishes of the Bush administration, met with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says President Obama wants Congress to stay out of this process because the president knows what a bad deal this is. But Senator Bob Corker is concerned the letter might galvanize Democrats and hurt his chances of gathering enough Democratic votes to override a presidential veto. Here's the senator.
My focus as chairman of the committee is to get an outcome here where, Congress plays its rightful role in one of the biggest geopolitical issues that our nation is going to face.
And the Wall Street Journal editorial page agrees that the letter gives the president a way to charge that Republicans are playing politics. Megan.
Trace, thanks. Joining me now, the man who drafted, signed, and sent that letter, along with 46 other Republican senators, to the leaders of Iran. Republican Senator Tom Cotton, who serves on the Armed Services Committee and is himself a veteran. Senator, good to see you tonight. So let's start with that last bit. It's not just Howard Dean. It's not just Vice President Biden. The Wall Street Journal calling you out, saying this is not helpful. And it sets the Republicans up to take a hit as being political beings on something that is important here, namely what happens with this deal with Iran.
Well, on the contrary, Megan, I think that this debate we're having is incredibly important and helpful to raising just what a bad deal President Obama is about to make with Iran. For the last 2 days, we've focused on the terms of the deal, which is, one, President Obama will accept a 10-year sunset clause, and two, he's conceded a vast uranium enrichment capability to Iran. That paves the way for Iran to get the bomb, as Prime Minister Netanyahu said last week.
But what's the point in writing to the Iranian mullahs? I mean, what are you going to do? They dismissed it already, whatever. And you've offended the Obama administration, and you may have offended some of the Democrats who would have come over with the Republicans, if, depending on what happens with this deal, to have a stronger say in the Senate.
Megan, if you talk to most Iran experts, they'll tell you that Iran's leaders don't understand our constitutional system. In fact, President Obama has said the Congress should not weigh in on this deal right now, even with future conditional sanctions, in part because it would confuse Iran's leadership. So we need to be crystal clear with the leaders of Iran. Any deal that's not approved by Congress won't be accepted by Congress, not now and certainly not in the future, because Congress is focused on stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now.
What do you say to those who say you at a minimum, you've now alienated the Democrats, who the Republicans may need if you want to push through a sanctions package later on?
Megan, this is not about partisan politics. This is about stopping Iran from getting a bomb.
Right, but don't you need the Democrats if you want to do something contrary to what President Obama wants?
I too want to see the bipartisan legislation pass that we've worked on in my committee and that Senator Corker is working on in his committee. The president is the one who's weighing in the separation of powers, not a partisan matter, but a constitutional issue, and putting so much pressure on Democrats who share our viewpoint. Regardless of whether they sponsored or signed a letter or sponsored legislation, the president doesn't want them to even speak out and to share their views that Iran cannot be allowed to get a nuclear weapon, and that's exactly what the president would do.
You could make the case that President Obama has exceeded his executive authority, right? I mean, many Republicans are making that case on many issues, from immigration to Obamacare right now. But discouraging the Democrats in the Senate from saying bad things about his deal isn't exactly an interference with separation of powers.
Well, we're encouraging the Democrats to join us to protect Congress's constitutional responsibilities. The Founding Fathers insisted that Congress have the power to ensure that no president, whoever he or she may be, can make a binding international agreement, especially one about nuclear weapons with the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism.
What do you make of the fact that Joe Biden came out, the vice president said this is beneath the dignity of an institution he reveres? He said he's offended by this. He says it's designed to undercut a sitting president in the midst of sensitive international negotiations, and he went on to say he cannot recall another instance in which senators have done this.
For 36 years, Joe Biden was a senator. He often weighed in very eloquently in defense of the Senate's prerogatives in protecting the United States from a bad deal. Now, I'm disappointed that Vice President Biden has changed his tune now that he's vice president, but his focus on the process just goes to show that he knows he can't defend a deal. But if he would like to defend a deal, I'd be happy to debate Vice President Biden one-on-one anytime at a place of his choosing, maybe right here on your show, Megan.
You're more than welcome to do that. I hope he takes the invitation, the vice president. Let me ask you about Representative Jared Polis of Colorado, who sent out a tweet today. It looks like it may have been deleted since, calling you, a man who served the country in uniform, Tehran Tom. Tehran Tom.
Megan, a few rhetorical bullets fired in a political debate don't really trouble me too much. What I'm focused on is Iran and stopping Iran from getting a weapon. And that's what 46 other senators are focused on.